Bonjour, this is Jasmine. Thank you guys so much for stopping to smell the roses on Rue Madame. For those of you who are new to the neighborhood, I'm a writer, a storyteller, and a community builder. I write about culture, politics, parenthood, and my life here in France. I wanted to give you guys an update on my progress on being a pescatarian. I told you guys at the beginning of the year that I would be cutting back on my meat, kind of cutting back on alcohol, and something else. I forget. So, how has it been going so far? Actually, I haven't completely gone cold turkey, and that is on everything. Like, that's my honest update, but I have cut back on maybe 95%, because the only time I indulge in meat is when we go out, or we order in, I should say. And we order in maybe once a month or once every 2 months. So that's not a lot. So in general, I would say I've been successful. So I'm really proud of myself because I thought it would be more difficult initially, not to have your chickens and your beef and your all of these tasty things. But it has been rather smooth, and I guess it started. I had a weaning process in December, or even before that, where my husband would only eat meat during the day, and at dinner we would have something light like a salad or a vegetarian meal, which kind of put me on a good track to be okay now, where not having meat is kind of like, what meat? So we buy a lot of fish, the salmons and the dorades. What is dorade? I don't even know the English name for it, but we've had shrimp dinners and things like that. So it's light, but it's also filling. And I think that's the most important thing, not feeling like you are still hungry after the end of a meal. So it's been really positive. I'm happy. I think I'm going to stick with this. And I love fish to begin with. So it wasn't a big change, sticking to a lighter diet. But I would say you have to be creative, and you have to put emphasis on the seasoning. And I think that was even the case for meats. A good seasoning makes the meat even more tasty. Because without meat, it's kind of like, meh. But yeah, so being creative in the seasoning, and trying to be kind of spontaneous also, because you're like, oh, I'll just try this, or oh, I'll try that, and try to kind of like learn as you go. And I think that's where we're at as well. So yeah, overall positive. Maybe the biggest challenge is trying not having it be boring, because it can get boring and repetitive. And that's probably my biggest pet peeve, is trying to think, oh, what can I, because I'm still doing my veggie lasagnas. I'm getting good at that, and I love cheese. So if you get the right amount of cheese, a lot, the right amount of mix of cheeses, especially, put your vegetables and throw that in. Even the kids aren't missing meat, and they love the lasagna if it's, if the vegetables are finely chopped. They can't even tell the difference. So yeah, just being creative. But other than that, I also wanted to talk about um, our journey through this pandemic, and that is another headache. So what's the situation here in France? We still have a curfew. The curfew is 7 o'clock. So at 7 o'clock, you are supposed to be indoors. And there's exceptions, of course, for people who work nights, for example, or people who have things to do after 7. But in general, people are supposed to be indoors. And if you're out after 7 o'clock, you're supposed to have an attestation, which is like a proof, showing that, I have work or I have a doctor's appointment, for example. And that has been a little challenging. For example, my husband gets off work at 6. He works from home, but if the kids want to go out and enjoy the day and they want to go with their dad, he only has an hour to be outdoors. And it's not only for the kids, for him as well. If he's been indoors all day in front of the computer all day, it's like he wants to stretch his legs, he wants to get, a quick run or just to, get fresh air. He only has an hour, which is kind of unfortunate. So it is taking a toll. It has taken a toll to a certain extent, even though we're in good health, which is always the most important thing. The schools have reopened because for 3 weeks, um, schools were closed because of rising cases of COVID. So initially, there was supposed to be 2 weeks of the spring break to begin with. But instead of the spring break starting when it was supposed to, it started a week before. So it was 3 weeks in total instead of two. And it was because of COVID. Um, so then it started back up earlier than it would have initially. So my son doesn't wear a mask at school, but kids older than him, so he's in pre-K, so kindergarten and above, like uh, 6 years old, I think, and above, they have to wear masks. But he's 5 and he's in preschool, so they don't have to wear masks. Parents picking up their kids, for example, have to wear masks. So it's kind of like, is it useful? Does it make a big difference? We don't know, but they're doing the best that they can. And as far as things that are closed, things that are open, I feel like it's like 85 to 90% open. I think most things are open, with the exception of the curfew, which forces things to close sooner. So if you have a hair appointment or a nail appointment, it you have to go before 7 o'clock. Um, but one thing that has remained closed since the beginning, I believe, are the bars and restaurants. So you can order a meal and have it come to you. So the delivery is open, but like people going to a restaurant, sitting down and ordering in like restaurants full of people, that isn't happening. All the bars, because Paris and the Paris region is known for having their terraces and they're eating outdoors on the sidewalk. That is all closed, so you don't see people, drinking their wine and having their beverage at the brasserie and that's not happening. So also the nightclubs, of course, they're not open. I don't know if that's the case for the states, but I know every state is different, so that can be different depending on where you live. But here it's pretty, I think that's the cutoff where it's like, we're not doing that. What else? Um, Grocery and different stores. It's funny because I think like IKEA and other like hardware stores, I don't think those are open because they're not necessarily essential. But you have like bakeries open, like the boulangerie, patisserie, those are open. And I think I was joking with my husband, like, whatever happens, it can be, a storm, it could be a pandemic, it could be an earthquake. The boulangerie and the patisserie, the bakeries in France will remain open. That is a no go as far as closing. So those are open. People are wearing their mask in general, they are. But since it's getting nicer and the weather is getting more summery and sunny, people are outdoors. So, like in parks, you'll see a lot of people not wearing masks, but I think in general, the distance is respected and the mask is respected depending on where you are. Like, yeah, again, in parks, it's hit or miss, but again, it also depends on the region. So in the Paris region, that's what I'm seeing. And yeah, the cases in Europe, it's always a different story depending on the day. So, and traveling is still restricted. So if it's not crucial or essential travel, um, it's discouraged to travel. Even though I think it's open in the European Union. So if you're going to Spain or Italy or, it's pretty open. But again, they prefer they be essential for work or business or things like that. So what else? What else? What else? Um, the buses and the trains are still running. I haven't luckily needed to take the bus or train. And I don't even feel right doing it after so long not doing it. Um, but it's just so weird how you just are so conscious of germs and spreading of of your DNA in places. Um, so yeah, tell me how it is where you live. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.